River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Niner Nuts. I'm Dan here along with James. James, say hello.
What's up, Niner Nation?
And we are here for our second episode of the week. Last time we talked about our reactions to our preseason beatdown at the hands of the Las Vegas Raiders. Here on this one, James, you actually came up with this topic. You concocted a very fascinating take that I'm opening the floor to you. Indulge me. Tell me what this interesting theory you came up with.
So, if you remember the last episode, we hinted that John is not as good as GM as everybody thinks. A couple of reasons we talked about on the previous episode, where the last 2 years he's had a camp holdout. Last year it was Deebo Samuel. This year is Nick Bosa. But there's another thing that I think is costing the 49ers championships, and it's on their defense. I know the defense.
Our number one defense and number two rushing defense last year.
Number two rushing defense. But really, what teams don't run unless you're playing Derrick Henry and the Titans. You don't need to spend $14.5 million on two linebackers when you're only spending $10.5 million on your secondary. Yes, last year the totals were $10.1 million for the linebackers. This year they've gone up to $14.5. And yes, last year John spent $24 million on the secondary, but he cheaped out this year. We'll see if it pays off, but $14.5 million for two linebackers, that's way too much, guys. And I'm going to tell you why. If we compare what the Eagles spent the last 2 years on linebacker, you look at last year they had TJ Edwards, $1.2 million. Kaiser White, $1.8 million. Those were their two main starting linebackers, a total of $3 million they were spending on them. This year, Nakobe Dean, $1.1 million, and Morrow at $1 million. So they're spending $2.1 million on their linebackers. Why? Because you don't need two great linebackers to stop the run. You don't need, Fred Warner. Yes, he's the number one linebacker in the league. He should get paid. But really, linebacker is becoming less and less of such a great need. You just need average linebacker play, average to slightly good, to have a good defense. The Eagles were the number two defense last year, and they were number one against the pass. And yeah, they basically made it to the Super Bowl because they spent more on their secondary than they did on two linebackers. And right now, John is paying $10.5 million for four players in the secondary, four starters: Gibson, Ward, Lenore, and Hufanga. He's paying $10.5 million. And he's paying two linebackers $14.5 million. You don't need to spend that much on linebackers. The Eagles proved it last year. And this year, if you look at what they spent on the secondary, last year they spent $15.3 million on the secondary, had two all-pro corners. They had CJ, who was great at $2.5 million. They were going to give him a bigger contract, which would have averaged about, $8 million a year, which they'd be spending more now. And then they had Marcus Epps at $965,000. But still, they invested money into their main secondary players. This year, the Eagles are spending $8.1 million on Slay, $3 million on James Bradbury. Blankenship is a second year undrafted free agent at $871,000. and we got Terrell Edmonds, a safety, at $1.8 million. But still, the money goes to the corners. The corners are making $17.4 million, and they're both all pro. That's where you spend your money, on 2 corners. You want to spend $14 million, get 2 shutdown corners. Don't get 2 run-stopping linebackers. You only need 1. Keep Fred Warner. Don't be paying another linebacker, top linebacker money. $5.5 million for a second linebacker is way, way too much. I'm sorry. That's it. You can't, you even look at the Chiefs. I didn't break down the Chiefs, but the Chiefs are similar. They're not devoting a ton of resources on their linebacker core. And they just happened to win the Super Bowl. And I went back to the previous years, and they really haven't spent very much money on linebackers. That's because good GMs know you have to stop them with the defensive line, and you stop them with the secondary. Your run game, if they tear you up with 1 linebacker, good for them. But you don't need to have this number 1 rush defense and be, 20th in pass defense. That's not good. This is a passing league. You need to be able to stop the path. And yes, Charvarius Ward is a very good corner. He did play well last year. But who else do they got on the roster? Mosley at $1 million. They got Hufanga at $1 million.
Mosley's with the Lions now.
Oh, sorry, Lenore. They got Lenore at $1 billion. He's at the top spot. But Mosley last year was on the roster at $6.5 million. How did that work out for you guys?
He had a torn ACL. I mean,
exactly. And Jimmy Ward at $12.9 million last year. He got beat up by Gibson. You were spending that much on him. So I don't think John is good at evaluating, 1, and 2, he needs to go out and find another shutdown corner. And I don't think you're going to find it in Lenore for $1 million. I really don't. And you're only spending $10.5 million on the secondary. You're paying $14.5 million to 2 linebackers. That's not the way the league works. Good teams don't spend that much on linebackers. And I don't know what you think, Dan, but I mean, should we hear from our sponsors first, or do you want to chime in?
Yeah, let's hear from the sponsors first. Our little 30-second recess, and then my rebuttal. Let's use courtroom talk.
Yeah. Are you looking for the sickest retro jerseys on the market? Well, look no further than Royal Retros, the king of throwbacks, the one-stop shop for all your throwback needs. Mm-hmm. Use promo code Shady Sports and save 10% off your order today. So what you got for me, Dan?
Yes. I think what this has boiled down to is a disagreement in philosophy. Not to just reiterate, but I guess use different words. It sounds like you have a disagreement in the philosophy of what we're doing, because what we've been doing is trying to make an elite front 7, between what's going to be either, I think Flanagan Fowles is who's going to be the third one. I think he's going to be replacing Al-Shaair. But between Shaair, Warner, and Greenlaw, I'm going to stick up a little bit for Drake Greenlaw. He's definitely worth more than the $8 million that we're supposed to be paying for him. So we definitely got him on a cheaper deal, because he definitely, in my opinion, was playing way better than $8 million. But it appears to me, from the way I see the film, is that what we want to do is just bully the absolute crap out of you, so that right off the gate, right in front of your face, it's going to be incredibly difficult with all, at least in theory for this year. Drake Jackson is going to be coming in from the left. Bosa's coming in from the right. Hargrave and Armstead coming up you at the front. That's going to be so overwhelming alone. You can't look deep enough. So it doesn't matter that we do have great backs in Hufanga, who he's going to get paid if he plays like he did last year. And then Ward, who was worth every penny we paid for him. Not top shelf, but it doesn't matter. about Lenore and Gibson because it's so intimidating up there on the front. And then you go on the next level. Dre Greenlaw is stupid fast. Fred Warner, stupid fast. Worth noting, he's the number one pass coverage linebacker in the league. No, you're not going to have him trail somebody down the field, but his speed for linebacker is ridiculous. He can cover damn near every short and intermediate route. And then if he's starting to get beat, Hufanga or Gibson's going to be there right behind him, and then it becomes a double coverage. So the front seven, the philosophy appears to me that the front seven is going to be so intimidating that these guys in the back, they will have time to hold on because the quarterback's got to make such a big decision. And a big factor of that, yes, is our defensive line that does deserve we are giving them a crap load of pennies.
But that's what you should do.
Armstead is getting like 20 million. Hargrave is getting 20 million. Bosa is going to be making 30 million. Thank God Jackson's getting $1 million. But no, on top of that though, is the speed and athleticism of Greenlaw and Warner that every other team just has, like in your words, average linebacker plays. You could get away with some quick lucky passes. Not with Warner and Greenlaw. If you do get away with that quick short dump out, guess who's flying in at you like a heat-seeking missile? It's going to be Warner or it's going to be Greenlaw.
Yes, but the thing about it is you don't need that. You don't need a front seven. You just need a front four. And you need a better secondary. It should go defensive line, secondary, then linebacker. That's how you suspend your resources because it's all about the pass game. You don't want to. Who cares?
But we got a cheap all-pro in Hufanga. It's surprisingly affordable how much we're paying Ward. Ward signed a big contract that was $16 million a year. But because we gave him that restructure, you have the numbers in front of you, isn't? Are we paying him like
he's 6.1 this year?
Yeah, and he's got 2 void years that we're dumping a lot of money into, so he's surprisingly affordable for being an alternate Pro Bowler. In my opinion, he should have been a Pro Bowler. But
you have to stop the pass in this league. That's what you need to do. You have to stop the pass, and that starts with the defensive line getting pressure on the quarterback. Then you have the corners covering the wide receivers. So what's going to happen? I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. The quarterback's going to drop past the pass. He's got to worry about the defensive line. He's got to look for an open receiver. If he doesn't have an open receiver, the line's going to start creating pressure, and it's going to make the quarterback flush, and then he's going to be he's going to be what am I trying to say? He's going to be flushed out of the pocket. He's going to be sacked. There's going to be a ton of QB pressures if you have better corners covering these wide receivers. You don't need 2 dominant run-stopping linebackers on short and intermediate passes. Nobody cares if the quarterback is going to throw a freaking 4-yard, in the middle pass. That's not what offenses want to do anyway. They want to get more air yards. They want to get more yards per attempt. And who cares if I can't throw it 4 yards? Can I throw it 10 against your corners? Yes, that's what I need to do. And that's why they were 20th against the pass last year. That's why the Eagles were number 1 against the pass. There's a difference, and the philosophy needs to change, or otherwise they're going to start getting burned, and they're going to get burned in the passing game, in the deep passing game, like they did last year. You have 2 good linebackers that stop 4 and 5 yard passes. Who gives a crap? Who really gives a crap? They can stop the run and do it. Now, I'm not saying get rid of both of them, because if you want an elite linebacker, you could have either one on your team, but you do not have to.
But we got both, though, and we didn't have to pay 17, 18 million for both of them. We got Greenlaw for a steal compared to how he played last year.
But it's still a bad use of resources. It really, really is. You could devote more money to the secondary and maybe have gotten a better corner to come into your secondary this year, because that's what you need. You need two good corners to take away the wide receivers so the defensive line can get to the quarterback. We got
Diamador, though. Diamador played by the time we got to the postseason. Diamador was so good by the time we got to the postseason because he got a lot of experience from no one wanting to throw to Ward, who has established himself. And then we know how good Hufanga was. And then, sure, the jury's out if Gibson's going to play as good as he did last year. But we didn't know Gibson was going to go from the practice squad to be our starter in 48 hours, literally the day before we played the Bears. And then he started the whole year. Like,
yeah.
the jury, the only questionable player that we don't know anything about is going to be the nickel. Like, we need to figure out who the nickel is, whether it's going to be Isaiah Oliver or if it's going to be, I get them mixed up. Not Jair. Is it Jair Brown who I'm trying to say, who he drafted? We need to figure out who our nickel's going to be.
Yeah.
I will give you that.
I mean, but if you don't have 2 shutdown corners anymore, you need to stop the pass better. You were 20th against the pass, and there's a reason for that, because you're not spending enough money there, not going out and spending prime resources on the secondary. You know, you got one guy. You spent money on one guy. And you know what? He can't even get you an interception. Like that's he.
Who, Ward?
Ward, yes.
Ward got his. He had was it 1 or 2 picks last year?
Yeah, 1 or 2. like 1 or 2.
It's not all about interceptions. It's about the presence and the completion percentage. The only game that he really got burnt on was the second time against the Seahawks. Just something happened that round where the first time he played the Seahawks, well, the first 2 times he played the Seahawks, he held back DK Metcalf pretty good. And then, yeah, in the playoffs, he let him get torched a little bit. But and then the Kansas City game, he was injured. He shouldn't have even played that game, in my opinion. But outside of those 2 games, like, you just didn't target him because he was blanketing that guy. It didn't matter that the picks were down. It was the presence that he had and the likelihood of the catch being worth the risk. Like, no one wanted to throw to that guy because he was blanketing the receiver he was on so well.
But it's still, you got one guy. You got one guy taking away one receiver. What about the number 2 receiver? That's not getting taken away. It's not. And that's why you're 20th, and that's why you were 20th in the pass defense.
We were 20th in pass defense because we somehow let Trent Sherfield run 80 yards on us on a underneath like shuttle pass. Like, and we let oh no, I could no, we were fluky. I will give you that. There were a handful of times where a play wouldn't have been positive yards, or it would have been like 2 positive yards instead of 8 if Hufanga didn't lean in too hard with his shoulders and he screwed up the wrap. Like, there was some technique for sure that we called out Hufanga with. And yeah, Diamador was in his 2nd year and he wasn't supposed to be the starter. He was a little rusty at the start, but then he ended up, I think during the last month of the season, or the last 2 months, if you count playoffs, he led the team in interceptions with like 3, if you count the playoff ones. He was coming into his own. And then, yeah, I mean, Gibson, we'll have to see if his age finally catches up with him, but the sky's the limit for Hufanga. I mean, we're homegrowing all these guys, and I'll even count Gibson as homegrowing because he's played under Kyle Shanahan before, so he knows what Kyle Shanahan's expectations are. The only guy we didn't homegrown is Ward, and Ward's the best one out of all of them.
Yes, I get it. But you're still 20th against the pass last year with these guys. Going into this season, you're spending more money on the linebackers than you are in the secondary. You're hoping for guys to hit. Instead, go out and get, Jesse Bates would have been a trade and they didn't have the resources, but you could have gotten CJ GJ, who led the league in interceptions. And what was great about him was he was a nickel corner who got moved to safety. So if your nickel goes out or you need somebody to cover nickel, you got another nickel corner. Like, that's the kind of move that John missed out on, and he ended up paying his linebackers. And I don't think that's the way to go. I really don't. I don't think teams win by paying that much money to 2 great linebackers. You just need one.
So you think we've moved away from truly needing the balanced playbook? Like, you can't pass 60 times because you got to sprinkle runs in there. You feel that that's not a necessary mindset to have anymore. You think now successful teams are going to be just fine running 10 times and then passing 50 times?
I would say passes is what you want to stop. It's a passing league. Elite quarterbacks are run this league, and you're going to need to be able to stop them and give them trouble and stop protecting against 4-yard freaking dump passes. It's not the way to go. It just isn't.
There's the disruption that comes with having the middle linebackers being able to cover much longer and allow the other guys to hone in while they're as fast as they are. So it's not so much on the secondary though.
Yeah,
like I'm thinking of the Miami game where their run game was non-existent and Tua was just getting beat up because he couldn't see. No, he wasn't ran over in 2 seconds. Like our line wasn't that fast. Like we weren't just bull rushing the crap out of him, except a couple times. But the times that he was upright, the linebackers are part of that distraction, and they're so fast that it's an added level of distraction that cuts into the decision making and then allows him to feel that pressure and throw a terrible pass or get sacked by Bosa. Like I think there is value in having the linebackers that are as fast as they are in Greenlaw and Warner, and there's also the intangible too of what they bring to the team. I think there's some intangible factors that lean into it, the kind of loyalty. Like I don't think John is as loyal as say like Jerry Jones, but I think he does appreciate what they bring in the locker room, the professionalism that they bring into the room. I think that's definitely a factor in it too. I know that's not what you're talking about, but that's a factor.
I get that that's a factor, but you just need one of those guys at linebacker. You don't need two of those guys at linebacker. You don't need to pay two guys top dollar to be a linebacker. You know, you just
$8 million is not top. I get what you're meaning. $8 million is more than $1 million, but yeah.
But I mean, that's what I'm saying. You're devoting a lot of resources to two. I mean, they're really great. Don't get me wrong. They're really, really great. They are. They're two of the best linebackers in the entire league. I will say that. And I'm not saying that they're not good. I'm not saying that they're not worth the money. All I'm saying is you don't need two of these linebackers. You can find linebackers at cheaper prices. So keep Warner, get rid of Greenlaw, and find somebody off the market that's a cheaper option, because you need to devote some of those resources, more resources, to the secondary if you're really going to like step over the top in this league.
These guys are the next generation of Bowman and Willis, though. I mean, do you understand how heartbreaking that sounds to Niners fans that we can say that we have the best linebacking core in the league again? I mean,
and how many championships have you gotten?
We have the best linebackers in the league. We
got the best corners in the league. We have the best corners in the league. That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. The Eagles had the best corners in the league, made it to the Super Bowl. I mean, you could argue all you want that Brock Purdy got knocked out of that game and that maybe you might have won by 2 touchdowns. Yeah, it would have been more competitive. But I guarantee you, your corners were not going to necessarily be able to keep Jalen Hurts from winning. You know, I mean, Jalen Hurts, didn't pass that great. I will say he was kept under, but we still eventually beat you down for 31 points.
Because you were the only ones that were playing. We were always off the field in 15 seconds. It's kind of hard to not give up 30 points when your offense is on the field for 15-second drives at a time. Like, remember how emotional Dre Greenlaw was? Like, yeah, I get it. You are literally the only person on the field. You're going to get a little burnt out.
Yeah.
But no, I was just looking at our time. This has been a fun exercise. Not going to lie. Doing this little Stephen A, Richard Sherman kind of, or Skip and Shannon. Like, this is fun. I like this.
Yes, for sure. But guys, do you wish you could buy and sell your bets like stock? Then go to WagerWire and keep track of all your bets from all your sports books and get the best price for your payout. Use promo code DBrownie710 if you like Dan's picks, or Jimmy B fans, use Bray James 5 to get matches and bonuses from syncing your books. Check out WagerWire today.
I think to put a pin, or how do you have a final put a pin in this? like a closing thesis, I suppose. I should open the floor to you for that since you started this.
my closing thesis is John is not as good as GM as everybody thinks he is. And I think maybe we're looking 2 years down the road, this team isn't going to look so good, and John's going to be the scapegoat because he's the one who built it.
We're getting to a point, and I feel like I've said this before, we're getting to a point where there is a lot of money out there. There is a lot of money that's out there to very specific people. But when I was looking at Sports Track too, like just because I was curious, there's some tough decisions that are going to need to be made soon. That hopefully in draft evaluation we can make up for, or if we can do surprise signings like Javon Hargrave. I wasn't expecting with Bosa needing to get paid. We were going to give $20 million to Javon Hargrave of all people. Jesus. But so I think John is a better money manager than the Saints GM. Do I think he's as good as Howie Roseman or not Les Snead, whatever the guy from the Rams is?
No, that's not include the Rams GM.
He is better than the Rams GM. The Rams got a Super Bowl out of it, but no, they're not free falling as much as the Saints are. I'll give them a little credit. They're not free falling quite as bad. Losing Stafford last year to an injury, not to money, to an injury was really what cost them last year. If Cooper Kupp and Matt Stafford were both healthy the whole rest of the year, they would have fared fine. But so I don't see he's not as bad as the Saints GM, but this is going to, after this season, is really going to be a test for him because we're going to have to decide on a lot of players. Arik Armstead's going to be up for a contract. Yamdar Lenore is going to be up. We have to decide if Gibson played good enough to get another 1-year minimum contract, if he even wants to play for a minimum, or if he even wants to play. Hufanga's got to get paid. Debo is no, never mind. Debo's not up for a contract yet. He will be after the 24 season, though. We got to decide on Brandon Ayuk. This has to pay off this year, or the roster is going to look very, very different. Well, that's not an overreaction. I don't think it is. This needs to pay off the way that he set up this roster. Having tough questions like what you posed is a fun exercise, but that is something that they've probably had conversations about in his office. Are we allocating proper budget to the right rooms? Is it fine that we have Christian McCaffrey with all these other guys cheap? Is it okay that we have the linebackers expensive, but these in the back? What were you going to say?
You know what Jed York's saying? Buy low, sell high. That's what he's saying right now to John. Buy low, sell high.
God, well, just those guys that I listed. We're not going to have many of them on the roster after this year. It's just going to happen. We're not going to keep Hufanga and Lenore and Arik and Brandon. There's going to be a very, very different roster next year. And Greenlaw's not up for it. Greenlaw only signed a 2-year extension, so I don't remember the way it's set up. Let me actually look at it since we're talking about linebackers. Is he up for a contract after this year? Yeah, he's up for another contract this year. He signed a 2-year extension to avoid unrestricted free agency. So yeah, he's only under contract this year and next year. He could ask for another contract next year. Really, if he plays his card how everyone else does, yeah, he could ask for more money next year if he actually gets named an All-Pro this time.
Yeah.
This was fun. This was a fair question to ask.
Two holdouts in 2 years, too much money at linebacker.
Debo came back the second day of camp, though. This is the first time that he's had a holdout. Having a holdout in general is bad. But I think with the standards that Bosa holds himself to in terms of staying in shape and knowing his stuff, I think he's still gonna have a decent season outside of versus like what Debo had a really bad decline last year. But the fact that he's not there on the field, no, of course I'm a little bothered by it. But do I think that he's setting himself up for a drastic drop as Debo? I'm not going to bet that. It's just more concerning for the locker room that Bosa's not there, and at least we're not hearing a bunch of leaked nonsense about like John wants to pay him 20 and he wants 35 or whatever stuff like that.
Okay. So we have a little bit of breaking news. Sorry guys to say this, but the Baltimore Ravens, or Adam Schefter, has reposted with the Baltimore Ravens, with heavy hearts we mourn the passing of Alex Collins. So we'd just like to say condolences to his family, to the Baltimore Ravens fan base, the organization, and all of them who are feeling the losses of Alex Collins.
Oh, wow. I did not. Oh, yeah, 2 minutes ago. Oh, my God. Wow. Oh, that's awful. Oh, Jesus. Yeah, no, I don't. Well, that was not how I wanted to end the show. Good Lord. That's heartbreaking. Jesus.
Yeah. So we reach out to the family. If you need anything from us, let us know. We'll be happy to do anything that we can.
Yeah, no. Well, man, I don't even know how to give it. I don't even know how to toss it to you for. I don't even know how to toss it to you to close out the show.
Well, guys, it is a sadful loss, but we are still trying to bring owner accountability to the NFL. The latest news about the Texans owner and the news about the 49ers owner, and when the NFL knew about their incidences, has shown that there's a lack of accountability for NFL owners. And so we have started a hashtag, player standards are lower than, owner standards are less than player standards, hashtag owner accountability. We're raising money for a Kentucky crisis center. You can buy our t-shirts at bonfire.com. 100% of the proceeds do go to the crisis center. We have some nice t-shirts, and that's our owner standards, less than player standards, owner accountability t-shirts. Next up is our new logo, Niner Nuts, with the mascot sitting down eating a bag, bowl of peanuts, watching the Niners. The next one is our Niner Nuts logo with the field goal and the nuts. And then we have our podcast logo. And then we have the owner standoff. So go to bonfire.com, check those out, donate to a good charity. Once again, sorry, Ravens family, we're here for you. Anything that we can do, let us know.
Yeah, of course. There's nothing remotely more important to talk about than acknowledging, our hearts are broken for the Collins family. But yeah, that's all we got for you on this on this episode. We have another one coming out on Friday, so we'll see you guys then.
Outro music, River Road, Justin Muth.
River Road, you got me running way back home. River Road, you got me running all night long. You got me singing some canal boat song. River Road, you got me running all night long.